Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex that she needs to figure it out when it comes to hosting people for her grandmother's funeral, even though I am living in her grandmother's house? Original post. My ex and I got divorced earlier this year. When we were married, we bought her grandmother's house. This house was built in the 1910s and had been in my ex's family since then. It is quite large. It was de facto the house where my ex's family would stay whenever they came into town for anything. This continued after we purchased the house and was part of my decision to divorce her. When we bought it, we primarily used my premarital savings and inheritance. That was about 5 years ago. When we got divorced, the court determined that the bulk of the house, 90%, belonged to me, in accordance with our post-nuptial agreement. My ex tried a number of scenarios in which she would keep the house, or it would go into a trust for our child, so it would stay in the family. The only options I would agree to were selling the house, her buying me out, or me buying her out. We went with the latter because my ex did not have the money to buy me out. The day after Christmas, my ex's grandmother died. She had been sick for years, and the reason we bought the house was that she could no longer live on her own and desperately needed money for end-of-life care. Anyway, yesterday afternoon, my ex's cousin showed up at the house with his family. He drove into town for the funeral on Thursday. Apparently, he and his sister texted my ex and said they would be staying at the house, an insider family term for my house, and she indicated she was okay with that. I called my ex and asked her why she volunteered my house to host people. She apologized and said she had been running around getting things done for the funeral. However, she asked if I would be willing to host because they really do not have space for people without using the house. I told her no, and that they needed to get hotels or make other arrangements. She said they do not have the money to get everyone hotels and that people are struggling financially. She added that there is plenty of extra room in the house and that they could stay in the finished basement with their own bathroom, kitchen, entrance, and exit. I told her no. She got quite upset and hung up on me. I told the cousin and his family that they could not stay. Am I the a-hole? Edit. People seem to be assuming the house was discounted to us when we bought it. It was not. It had been on the market for a year, and the price had been reduced multiple times, with no offers at the listed price. We bought it for the initial price it was listed at, which was the appraisal price. My personal preference was that my ex buy me out of the house. She did not have the money to do so. My next preference was to sell the house. My ex begged me to keep the house, so I agreed. The trust idea she proposed would have meant putting the house in a trust with a life estate for me and the remainder going to my son. This would effectively prohibit me from selling the house. I have no intention of selling now, but I refuse to put myself in a position where I cannot sell in the future if I decide I need to. However, I do have a trust for my son, now 3 years old, in which he will inherit my assets at the time of my death. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I am baffled as to why on earth your ex signed a post-nup that would endanger the family home. It is the only way I would agree to purchase the house. Otherwise, her parents were selling it to the highest bidder because her grandmother needed the money. Oh, I see why you got divorced now. So I can have this house that is apparently hard to sell, old and requires tons of maintenance? Nope. Much rather have my money out of this house and buy something smaller. Sounds like your wife has maybe not told her family that the house isn't owned by her anymore. This is probably it right here. She may have thought if she could sneak this one by, no one would be visiting anymore with Grandma gone, and they would never need to know that she lost their house. Well, the family can put up the money together and buy it from OP collectively. The audacity of some people. She didn't even ask. People just showed up on your door that she had already told could stay in your house. Not the a-hole. Probably because she knew the answer. Maybe she hoped OP would buckle under the social pressure. Now for the update 3 weeks later. A number of people have asked for an update. Not much happened until a few days ago. On Saturday, one of my ex's cousins, not the one who showed up at my door, we'll call him Dave, texted me. As you probably guessed from my original post, I do not have the best relationship with my ex's family. This was also true while we were together. However, I did have a good rapport with this particular cousin. Apparently, My ex and a number of other family members had been talking badly about me in the family group chat. Dave reached out to get my side of things, but said he understood if I did not want to talk. I called him and relayed much of what I said in my original post and comments. What I learned from my conversation with Dave is: 1. My ex told her family after the divorce that she still co-owned the house with me. 2. She told them that I do not abide by the court's order regarding expenses for our son and that she cannot afford a lawyer to fight me on it. I set the record straight on both accounts. I own 100% of the house and bought her out of her 10% share. I also pay 100% of the medical costs and child care or education costs for our son as ordered by the court. In addition, I pay more than the court-ordered amount for child support. We talked a little more to catch up, and I thought nothing of it. Apparently, Dave decided to share the details of our conversation in the family group chat. I received a long angry text from my ex about what Dave said in the group chat and that she wanted to talk. We talked yesterday. She expressed how frustrated she is with everything and said that she was, and still is, willing to do whatever it takes to make our relationship work. She said that if I am not willing to try to make it work, the least I could do is work with her so she can pay me off over time for the house. Put the house in a trust for our son so it stays in the family, and not badmouth her to her family. I reiterated that there are no circumstances under which I would want to be with her, not least because she is actively lying about me and our divorce to her family. I also restated that I will not let her pay me off for the house, because it would take her decades to repay the amount of money I have put into it, even without interest. I will not put the house in a trust because the type of trust she wants is specifically designed to prevent me from selling the house in the future if I need to do so. I also stated that I did not ask Dave to share any of our conversation and that everything I said to him was 100% factual. I told her that, moving forward, I will do no more than what I am legally obligated to do for her. I will only pay the legally required amount of child support and not a cent more. I will put the extra money I was paying toward the funds I was already setting aside for our son. If she wants to buy the house, she can do so at fair market value. Otherwise, I will sell the house if and when I feel it is appropriate for myself and our son, regardless of what she or her family want. If and when I sell it, I will get the highest price possible, regardless of whether the buyer is part of my ex's family. And if her family continues to be a problem about the house, it will probably be sooner rather than later. She left angry, but that is where things stand. Was the postnup time or condition-based? Did you both have separate lawyers look it over? How long were you married? So many questions. Did she work? Did all her family take Dave's version over hers? She put up none of her own money to pay for the house. Yes, we had separate lawyers, not time or condition-based. We were married almost 6 years. She worked part-time and went to school, which I paid for. I have no idea what version the family believed. Good for you. This was a nice update. I hope she felt embarrassed having her lies called out in the group chat like that. She won't feel shame or embarrassment, just anger at being called out publicly. And it won't be her fault she got caught in her lies. It's him that's bad-mouthing her, shaking my damn head. I really don't understand people like your ex. What was the point of lying about the house to her family? Was she hoping by some unicorn miracle she will wake up one day and her lies would come true and suddenly the house is hers? Some people really don't think about the consequences of their actions. She wanted emotional validation for hating OP and said whatever she needed to get that from her family. Now reality is knocking and she's freaking out because the delusional bubble burst. My sister does the same thing. I'm as low contact as possible while trying to safeguard her kids. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my boyfriend access to my bank account, even though he says no secrets is how adults do it? I'm 27 female, and my boyfriend is 30 male. We've been together a little over 2 years. We live together and split bills pretty evenly, with no shared accounts. I make a bit more than him, about $15,000 a year more, but he has a stable job and pays his part on time. The conflict started this week when he told me he wants us to be fully transparent financially because we're talking about getting engaged this year. I thought he meant sitting down, pulling credit reports, talking about goals. things like that. Instead, he asked for my online banking login so he can see everything in real time. I laughed because I honestly thought he was joking. He wasn't. He said couples who plan a future shouldn't have private money, and that if I'm refusing, it means I'm hiding something. I told him I'm not hiding anything. I just don't want another person able to move money around or look at every grocery purchase I make at 11 p.m. He said he wouldn't touch anything and that he just wants visibility. I offered a compromise. We could make a shared spreadsheet. I could show him statements once a month, or we could open a joint account just for rent and bills and both put in our share. He got irritated and said that's not the same, and that my compromises are basically me keeping a wall up. Then he dropped a line that made my stomach flip. If you trust me enough to sleep next to me, you should trust me with a password. I said that's not how trust works, and I pointed out that I don't have his passwords either. He said I can have them anytime, and acted like that proves he's the only reasonable adult in the room. I asked why he suddenly needs this now. He said he doesn't want to find out later that I have debt, that I'm sending money to someone, or that I'm buying things I shouldn't. That felt gross, like I was being pre-accused. I told him I have no debt besides my student loans, my credit is fine, and I've never hidden purchases. He said he believes me, but he wants receipts. Those were his exact words. I told him no, and that if he keeps pushing, I'm going to start wondering what he is trying to keep track of, because demanding my login isn't normal. He got quiet and then went cold, polite angry. He said I'm making a simple thing into a big deal, and acting like he's some kind of thief. Since then, he's been sulking and making little comments like, must be nice having a private life, and guess we're not at that level. Yesterday, he even asked if I'd be okay with him installing a budgeting app that links accounts so he could see the dashboard. Same answer, no. Now he says I'm sabotaging our future and that I'm being controlling by not letting him in. I feel like I'm losing my mind because I'm not saying we can't talk about money. I'm just saying I'm not handing over access to my actual bank account. So, am I the a-hole for refusing and digging my heels in on this? Not the a-hole. Your boyfriend wants to tap into your bank accounts. For what it's worth, my partner and I share a home, vehicles, bills, friends, joys, troubles, and inside jokes, but not account information or access. Yep, been married for a long time, and I know some login information that has been willingly given, but bank account logins are sacred. Even on joint accounts, we have our own. This guy is sus, and I'm wondering what he's trying to hide, making projection look like the next Olympic sport. This sounds like the way one of my classmates discovered her spouse had a gambling addiction. Same. A friend of mine is a high earner. Her husband made bank too, but not on her level. 2 kids together, long marriage. Then he started taking control of their retirement accounts. She trusted him and thought it helped his sense of pride because she was worried about emasculating him by being the higher earner. Well, that dude gambled away millions of their retirement. They're getting a divorce, and she felt sorry for him because his broke ass was living in a motel, while she and the kids lived in the home. So she paid him half of what their house would be worth so he could get a condo, even though their divorce settlement didn't decree it because he obviously lost all their assets. Unsurprisingly, he lost that money too. Last story. Am I the a-hole for sticking my freshly single mom with $20,000 of debt? I, 19 male, have been paying off a car loan from my mom, 40 female, since I turned 16. She gifted me a new current year 2022 Nissan Sentra for my birthday. I foolishly never asked how much she signed for because I assumed that her financially knowledgeable boyfriend at the time would know what he was doing at the dealership. He did not. The original MSRP for my car capped at around $20,000, but they walked away with a $40,000 car loan. They put nothing down and had a 10% interest rate because my mom's credit was bad and she had no job. Even accounting for that, the math never made sense to me. The monthly payments were $510. I didn't care at first because the original deal was that my mom's boyfriend and I would split the monthly payment. That lasted all of 3 months, after which I was stuck paying the entire amount and have been ever since. About a year ago, I went to the bank with my mom to try to transfer the loan from her name to mine. But since the interest would be recalculated and add about $10,000 to the loan, we both agreed not to do it. I moved out at 18 and now live with a roommate, but bills have been tighter. My girlfriend's mom suggested that I look for a new car that's more within my budget, and I found a used 2025 Corolla with 10,000 miles for $18,000, a better car for cheaper than what I would still be paying on my current one. I told my mom that I was planning to get a new car, and that if she wanted to sell my current car, that would be her decision. She lost it, saying it's my responsibility, that it was a gift, and that she saved me $10,000 by not transferring the loan. The biggest issue is that she's freshly divorced and looking for a job to support her two younger daughters. I told her she could sell the car for about $14,000 to $15,000, but she refuses and is demanding that I drain my savings to pay for a car I never agreed to pay for, and that was ultimately the result of their terrible financial decision. On one hand, I don't feel like I owe her anything, and I've never truly gotten along with my mom, so it is what it is. On the other hand, I feel guilty for kicking her while she's down. I'm looking for unbiased opinions. Thank you. Go park the Sentra in her driveway, hand her the keys, and walk away. You let her problems become your problems. This is your out. I'm giving you the car back, Mom. Happy birthday. How is the car a gift if you are paying for it? As said, take it back and give her the keys. It will be hard to do, but this is her problem for buying something she couldn't afford and then letting you pay for it. As long as your name is not on the loan or title, it's not your car. It's her car, and her boyfriend's if he's on the loan or title, which makes it her obligation, not the a-hole. Nope, the car is not tied to me at all, aside from my insurance that lapses tomorrow and it being in my driveway. You might want to think about not letting the insurance lapse. If you do and you are uninsured for any amount of time, even when not owning a car, insurance companies count that against you, and your rates will be even higher when you do get insured again. You're saying to reinsure my Sentra and then transfer it to my new car? Yeah, or ask your insurance agent about a cheaper policy for you when you don't own a car to maintain coverage. Sounds good. Thank you, men. God bless you.